initial inquiries to intermediaries over Victor Gyökeres. We do know that Ruben Amorim is a long-term admirer. He worked with him at Sporting, where he was absolutely fantastic. I think United are just exploring the conditions of a potential deal if they were to get the finances ready, maybe making sales of other players, but just getting their house in order, just in case they could do a deal for someone like Gyökeres. They've been in the market for a striker, and they will continue to be in the market for a striker, regardless of what happens with Rasmus Højlund, because there's lots of talk about maybe Højlund leaving Old Trafford. We think that Inter Milan might be interested in him as well, but he actually spoke over the weekend after Denmark had beaten Northern Ireland, and he says, I expect to be at Manchester United next season and I want to fight for my place. But it must be also said here that United are not just looking at Gyökeres, they're looking at a number of players in that position.
Carve, why would Gyökeres go to United? Dreadful season, no European football. Is that showing a lack of ambition?
Well, he's just won the double in Portugal. Sporting are playing in the Champions League next season, but Manchester United are still a massive club. We've seen players like Matheus Cunha decide to move there, even though they're not in the Champions League. Obviously, Gyökeres is in the position where he's got lots of big clubs who are interested in signing him. So him and his representatives have to be very careful when it comes to choosing his next destination. But he does have this gentleman's agreement with Sporting that he can leave the club for, I think it's around £60 million, because of what he's done, and perhaps he's stayed a little bit longer than Sporting expected him to stay.
Dharmesh, would any deal for Gyökeres have any effect on a potential deal for Bryan Mbeumo?
My understanding, no. They're completely separate deals. Manchester United are expected to go back in with a second offer for that man there, Bryan Mbeumo, after having their first offer rejected, which was around £45 million initial payment plus £10 million in performance-related add-ons, so a total package of £55 million. Now, we expect, as I said, United to go back in because they desperately want to bring in the player, and there have been reports that maybe Thomas Frank could try and tempt Bryan Mbeumo to go to Tottenham if Thomas Frank was to become the head coach at Tottenham. That's not my understanding of it, because we think that Bryan Mbeumo wants to join Manchester United. And I think United are pretty impressed by the fact that he wants to come, even though, as you mentioned before, when you asked Carve that question about Gyökeres, even though United haven't got European football, it's still that pull of Manchester United. It still appears to be really, really strong.
Deadline, Tuesday.
One other thing I would say, sorry.
No, you carry on.
About Gyökeres, that I forgot to mention, has just come into my head, is the issue of his wages. Some of the clubs who've been looking at signing him have sort of got their calculators out and worked out that the kind of numbers involved make it a very, very big deal. So it would be interesting to see if he does say to these intermediaries that he wants to go to Manchester United, whether Manchester United can make the numbers work as well, because some other big clubs haven't been able to do that.
Sure. All right. What I was going to say was the deadline for the clubs, well, for everybody, but if you're going to the Club World Cup, it's really important. That's Tuesday. Chelsea are one